Have you ever been asked for a tip when buying a dress or other types of clothing? Because it seems like this is a thing that's starting to happen. I'm sure everyone feels strongly about it. I want to share one story of one girl that I just saw, and then another story of a retail worker who's arguing in defense of it. And just anyway, let's get into it.
Tipping on a wedding dress was a thing until last week. So let's chat about it. I'm gonna set the scene first so you understand some context. Basically, I went to this wedding dress store 2 times. The first time I went, I tried on like 6 to 8 dresses and I paid for that appointment. It was around $50.
First of all, we're already paying for the appointment. By the way, her name is Amelia Mulligan. This is her TikTok profile if you want to get into it. Anyway, let's continue.
And the stylist I was working with was so sweet. In that appointment, I found a dress I really liked and kind of remained my top runner for quite a few weeks. The stylist at that appointment did email me quite a few times just asking how my wedding dress shopping was going and asking if I wanted to come back in. Once my mom's travel plans were locked in, I did email her asking her for an appointment on a pretty specific day and time. The stylist responded saying that she wasn't going to be in on the day that I requested, and she asked me to come in on a different day at a different time. To which I had to be like, I'm really sorry, but I need to come in on that day. It's the only day that works for my mom and I. I just went on their website and booked a say yes appointment. Because at this point, we had decided I was going to say yes to the dress. So I was very excited for this appointment, and I was excited for my mom to see it in person as well. This appointment, since my mom was only going to be going to one of my wedding dress appointments, I wanted to make sure it was nice. So I tried to book one that had Prosecco and was still like somewhat of a full experience.
Remember, she already paid $50 for the appointment and she booked this appointment as a say yes appointment. Like she's going to buy a dress, and wedding dresses are expensive.
So when I arrived to the second appointment, I did ask the new stylist if I could try on 4 dresses total. Well, I don't know, I did 8, but 4 dresses total, one being the one that I knew I wanted to get, and then 3 others that were different styles so that my mom could see me in a couple different styles as well. The stylist I was working with at the second appointment was very nice, but honestly, the appointment itself felt a little awkward. I was under the impression that because I booked a say yes appointment, that the stylist knew that I was going to be saying yes to the dress, but that was not the case at all. I was also under the impression that we were getting Prosecco with the appointment because I read the package and it said you got Prosecco, but I didn't know like the terms of that where you only get Prosecco once you've said yes. So at one point I flat out asked if we could get Prosecco because I wanted my mom to have that experience, and she was like, once you say yes.
And just for the sake of math, an entire bottle of Prosecco is like 10 to $15, okay?
And at this point, I was like, oh, I think we can say yes. Like, I'm going to go with this dress. Then the weird part was while payment was happening on one side of the room, I get a sheet of paper basically asking for a tip percentage on top of the price of the full dress. To put it in perspective, if you're buying a $4,000 dress, a 20% tip would be $800.
I think I need an antihistamine now because I am getting itchy. My skin is getting hot and flushed and red, and I am getting itchy. I am having a full allergic reaction right now.
I literally was like blank staring at the sheet, being like, what am I supposed to do with this? Also, so awkward because the stylist is literally in the room with us while this payment is happening. So I had no privacy to ask my family what they wanted to do with a tip. And I guess I'll just add it in. Like, I wasn't paying for my dress myself. So I was like, to ask for an extra like 20% on top of the dress is actually craziness. So if anything, I would have paid the tip. But I was like, I don't understand how this warrants a tip. I also fully would have thought the stylists got commission. Maybe they do, and maybe this is like extra on top of the commission. So I left the sheet blank and I handed it back to her, and it was the first time in my life I've ever no tipped. And honestly, I felt really icky about it. So honestly, I'm just curious from other brides if you've had a similar experience. And I'm also curious for bridal stylists, like what the norm is here.
Now, in a second, I'm going to get to what a retail sales associate has to say about all this non-bridal. She argues in favor of tipping, which I kind of understand her perspective, but first, let's get into these comments. I own a bridal boutique. Absolutely no tipping. Tipping culture has gotten out of control. I paid $3,600 for my dress, $1,100 for alterations, and $80 in surcharge fees. Why on earth would I then tip? As a former bridal consultant, I'm shook. Sometimes it's just an automated question. I would never tip 20% on something like that. If you're going to, I think $100 is appropriate. I used to be a bridal consultant back in 2006, and this was never a thing. Also, Prosecco after saying yes is so weird.
We all know tipping culture has gotten out of hand. It's been blown out of proportion. But I had this interesting thought when I worked my retail job this summer. If you as a customer came into a clothing store and you are making the employee wait on you hand and foot, which is not in the job description, by the way, picking clothes out for you, bringing them to the dressing room, giving you real opinions, just doing the most.
This is her profile, by the way. She's on TikTok and on YouTube if you want to go follow her. And in the beginning, I find myself getting like a little upset. Like, no, that is the retail worker's job. But as she continues, I find myself understanding more and more her perspective.
As a retail worker. Now, let's say when you, as the customer, go pay for your stuff and you saw a tipping screen, what would you do? Because retail workers get paid so bad, but everyone like baristas love to complain, yeah, we don't get paid that well, we need tips. So do a lot of other minimum wage workers, but it's not normalized. So it just came to my attention, what if companies just started doing this as a social experiment? Because I'm genuinely curious, if you're coming to drop $500 on clothes, would you spare an extra dollar or two to tip the retail employees? I'm just wondering.
Okay, now we've heard from two different perspectives, two different ends of this spectrum, and I think you can see both sides very clearly. Now, I would love to know everyone's opinion. Like, where are you with this? On the one hand, I'm like, $800 is crazy town. That is absolutely insane to tip $800 for a wedding dress. Presumably because they're also making commission. But for the retail workers who don't work commission and they're just making an hourly wage and it's not that much, maybe it does make sense. Anyway, I'm not really sure, but I would love to hear your opinion.